Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel. The Old School team is here and we're super excited to be kickstarting 2023 off with community consultation on the new skill. Yes, you heard it, Old School's new skill. Over the next few months, we're going to be working with the community to basically come up with a design that most players are happy with. And we are really excited. Think back to the times where you first played the game, you're figuring out what the heck you were doing, and how exciting it was just to log in and have something brand new to master, pretty much. So that's what we're working on. We've just published a blog on community consultation, which will take you through how we want to work with the community. There's a bunch of survey information. There's a new Discord that we've set up, and just a bunch of ways to leave your feedback. Before we get into this, let's talk directly with the new skill team. So this is the team that will be working to deliver the new skill. Husky, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I guess I shouldn't be talking about other games, but I had a great week. I had a great weekend with Old War releasing in WoW Classic, and that was as a dev, I think I appreciate like how well that was put together. So it's been a lot of fun re-experiencing my childhood with that. But yeah, apart from that, it's been pretty good. Well, including that, it's been pretty good, I guess.
Awesome. How are you feeling to be working on the new skill and finally able to basically talk about it with players now?
Oh, super excited. It's been like the secret, like for the back end of last year, right? Was because a lot of our discussions were just like, well, you know, this is something that a lot of players want. Like people on the team want a new skill. What has gone wrong with our last approaches? Why didn't they work? Like, you know, how can we take on board all the community feedback from last time? What should we do moving forward? And a lot of like process level discussions, things I guess that aren't typically normal for like in terms of the realm of content development. It's more like, you know, more like going into like design principles and like working with community and you guys. So it's been, yeah, I'm like super excited for it to finally be out there. Excited to see where this journey goes through community consultation this year, and to see whether we will end up with a new skill at the end of it.
Fantastic. Elena, I would love to hear how you are and how you feel just about the new skill.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thank you. I'm just laughing at Husky going, I'm probably not supposed to talk about other games, and then he proceeds to talk about other games. But fair.
Honest to a fault.
No, to talk about yeah. I've actually been playing some Old School recently. One person in my group, Iron Theme, actually got a BOFA quite recently, so that's like motivated me to jump back in. So I'm very excited. Other than that, super excited about the new skill though. Kind of like Husky said, it's amazing to be able to actually talk about it now, because we've known that we've wanted to do it for so long, and well, you know, like it just gets your brain racing, you know, like what could the new skill possibly be? And yeah, so it's been really hard, like not trying to really narrow it down into like one skill immediately, and rather have that, you know, open mindset and wait for the community to be engaged in it as well. So it's been interesting, but yeah, doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, keeping it under wraps, I guess, was the hardest thing for so long before the winter summer, and I'm glad that we can finally be here on a live stream today to talk about it with you guys. Kieren, how are you doing? How are you feeling about the new
buzzing.
skill?
Like I can't. Like I know it's been like a good month or so since that poll closed now, but like the results, I think blew us all away. And there's no doubt, like the community is super keen for a skill from those results. And what we said back on the Winter Summit, we want to do it with the community. The community's on that journey with us, and obviously the blog today is a huge part of that process, working with the players along that journey. And super excited to see how the survey goes. I'm so curious how the results are going to come along, and yeah, just buzzing. And in general, I'm feeling playing Grip Iron Man pretty much non-stop still since it came out, so over a year now, and we have 5 out of 5 of us active. We're doing a lot of group raids and so on. It's being a blast.
Nice, fantastic. Well, yeah, it was our biggest poll to date, so it's a huge project. We're so excited, and just really happy to be working with the community on this. So I really look forward to the survey results too. All right, before we get into it, we will quickly go through some announcements. Most of these are related to the Community Consultation Survey and the blog that we put out. So !poll essentially will just tell you that there's a new poll running. It has poll 78 and the new skill combined into one. It's a pretty long poll, but super worth it. Next announcement is !new skill, essentially telling you about the blog that we've just published. So we're basically moving into community consultation, which involves a lot of back and forth with players about feedback, as well as analyzing survey results to figure out what type of skill do players basically value and desire. And then the devs, Elena and Husky, and Kieren will go away, look at that data, and then present some ideas for skill pitches. !survey, it will just take you directly to the survey that I talked about. We've got !video, a handy video from Mod Aiza, who couldn't join us today, but it will just tell you if you can't be bothered to read a blog. Sometimes you just want to make your gains, and that's totally fine. So just watch the video if you don't want to go into the blog. And then !new skill Discord. That's a separate Discord to our official Discord, but that is the Discord that we will be handling most of the new skill feedback in. More on that in the blog if you want to find out a bit more details on how you can speak directly with us in that Discord. Okay, now all the announcements are out of the way. Let's get on to our sneak peek of the week, which is about the Wilderness boss rework. So risky content is making its way to you this week. We're just going to let you know in the sneak peek of the week that basically it's Wilderness boss rework time. You've been waiting quite a while for this update. Bring some friends along for some fun multi-combat encounters. This picture is of Callisto. We don't want to give too much away about this boss fight. We want to kind of let you experience it. But we will give you a little bit of advice, which is make sure you keep your distance from his ferocious melee attacks and steer well clear of his traps. We're not really sure why a bear is spawning traps. It surely should be the other way around, but hey. Next image. Massive magical armored skeleton. This is the biggest visual upgrade since the old model. Basically, the old model, if you know, was an upsized version of Renalf from the Legends quest. The advice that we would give here is just make sure you dodge his lightning and watch out for his raised shield. Good luck. And then the last one is Venenatus. Look away if you were scared of spiders. We probably should have given you a warning there. But if you're an arachnophobe, look away, because this massive 8-legged matriarch has a lot of leg hair, fierce fangs, and a new egg sac that she's very keen to show off. The advice we would give here is she's basically going to summon spiderlings throughout the fight. For every single one still alive, the mummy's magic is basically going to screw you over. So make sure you kill her spiderlings, otherwise you'll make her really, really strong, and nobody wants to deal with that. So yeah.
The idea of a spider egg sac is so gross.
Pretty disgusting, yeah. I don't know what it is with Old School and spiders. There's a lot of spiders in the game, so if you're an arachnophobe, like, I feel really bad for you if you're also an Old School RuneScape fan.
Normally I'm not freaked out by spiders, but this morning I did like a test run of Venenatus basically, and then immediately after I saw a spider like crawl over my wall, like just behind my monitor, and I freaked out. It was terrifying.
It's coming to get you.
Yeah, honestly.
But yeah,
I was a bigger arachnophobe as a kid, and the giant spider that's in the Legends, Underground Pass quest, sorry, you know, the one you need to kill, like surrounded by other ones, like that was the first one as a kid, like gave me like such creeps, and that's not even like looking at that model now, I'm like, God, that's such a dumb like take as a kid, but like I can't imagine what I've got over a lot of arachnophobia now, but anyone who still has it, like, damn, that Arachnus boss is really like sticking it to them. maybe kill Callisto instead.
Yeah. Hopefully it's optional, but yeah. Good luck, guys. We'll see how you guys fare next week when it this week, sorry, when it releases. Right. So let's go on to the Q&A. This stream will primarily basically be about the new skill, so we're interviewing the devs basically on that. First question, I guess we covered it. How are you feeling being on the team for the new skill? What were your thoughts after the poll? How did you think that it was going to go? Did you think it was going to pass? Did you think it was going to had a risk to fail? Spill, basically.
That's a lot of questions, but I guess to begin with, working on a new skill in Old School is like a dream come true, at least for me. It's something that I've talked about a long time, about wanting to do. And I just feel really lucky to be able to be one of the people on that project, because it's a massive project and it's beyond anything we've done before, which is partly why it's so exciting.
Good answer. Husky, how about you?
Yeah, I think that I think being a new skill is one of the few areas. I mean, not few, but it's like the biggest thing a content dev can work on, like in terms of like the flexibility of the design, right? You know, you might think like, oh, like I've got to do specifically like a mini game for a skill or a boss or like a quest. Quests can be quite freeing as well, but I guess like this is just such open space. I'm just like happy to delve into, because like I don't know what I'm going to be coding this year if it passes, quite literally, right? Like anything I've planned, like, you know, I've got ideas in my head for boss fights that I would like to do, or like mini games that maybe we haven't put to the players, but this is just so unknown and that's exciting. As for the poll, I think like early on I would have put money on like high 70s was where I was comfortable at being like, yeah, like we've seen like survey results that we put in the players, like, but like it doesn't, like even when it goes live you're like, oh god, is it going to like this? I think like as a lot of players said, like if this is like low 70s, I don't think that's a win, right? Like even though that's technically passing the poll, can we get like a group of players to agree on a specific skill, right? Like no, right? Like because you split that 70% down and it gets really bad, right? So I think like I'm really happy with the results as well. Like just over 80% is like above what I expected. It shows the appetite is there. It means that it kind of puts faith in a lot of the work that we did at the end of last year to like community seeing I actually like the direction they're going in with this skill. At least that's maybe how I interpret it a bit, like the processes that we're looking at. So all in all, like yeah, I'm really happy, and yeah, excited to see what comes next with Community Consultation.
Thanks, Husky. And Kieren, how did you find the new skill poll? What were your thoughts? Were you like
earlier, buzzing? Like, I think as Husky said, I was kind of hoping for 80. That was like really what I really wanted it to do. I realistically thought maybe more it'd be like 75, 76 or so on the vote. But honestly, I mean, it qualifies a lot of what we've just felt, that the community's got an increasing sort of desire for us to actually make something a bit more meaningful, like a meaningful addition to the game that's more substantial. You know, Old School, we're about to hit our 10th birthday. That's crazy. What a better time than to add something to the game that gives us such a big opportunity to add something so deeply connected to the other systems in the game, whatever it ends up being. Like, a skill gets an opportunity that not many other pieces of content ever get to have. So let's take that. Let's smash it and make something incredible for Old School, because it's the one kind of release we've never done. I mean, you know, a lot of you might not have been there when like Slayer was first added, or Hunter first added, or even the later skills like Summoning and Divination and Dungeoneering and so on in RuneScape. But like, there's such an adrenaline rush on those first few days when so many players are playing the same skill on launch and racing for the 99 or trying to figure out how to train it. It's like there's an experience in that most content doesn't get, and I really, really want us to be able to do that for Old School. And I really love the work that Elena and Husky especially have done so far in terms of establishing like some of the direction, the pillars, the kind of rules that we're trying to sort of hold ourselves to. It's kind of like what a skill should be, and like how we're going to make sure it is right for Old School and so on.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. And chat, you have to remember as well, these are the devs that delivered one of the best updates, I feel, Guardians of the Rift. Together, they basically worked on that, and the improvement to runecrafting was just phenomenal. If there's one thing as well that players really say that they want on a daily basis is content. They want that content. I really feel like a new skill can bring that kind of content. So yeah, I'm super excited as well to be working with such a phenomenal team pretty much on the new skill. All right, next question. What do you think of some of the community pitch design? So player suggestions on skill pitches. Can you basically give me a rundown on what have been some of the ones that have caught your eye? What are your thoughts? Just have a little discussion on it, really.
So I think the elephant in the room, and like the biggest thing I've seen around the room, is like players going, we want sailing 2.0, right? Is like whatever. And that's taken various forms, right? It's been exploration, or it's been, you know, some other form of that. And I think that that's like, I wrote a blog that hasn't kind of gone out, and I don't know if it will, but I did like it was supposed to be like a blog that was like a touch of first bases with like what went well with our previous skill pitches, what didn't. Maybe it'll get released at some point, or come out in some other form, a gazette maybe. But I kind of broke down like, how did sailing go? How did warding go? How did artisan go? And I think the thing that sailing did so well that none of the others did is it was just selling like the pitching the dream, right, of sailing across the seas, right, and that like ability that the players don't have. And I think that that is like such a fundamental just like hold that like players had, right? Like warding had a 40-page essay, and artisan was like kind of super rewards focused and all this stuff, and you know, both of those skills had like controversial rewards that players like hold on to. I don't like that reward, so I don't like the skill. And I think that nobody says that by exploration. I mean, you look at exploration, all the rewards are basically already in the game already, right? You know, dragon claws, dragon crossbow, and whatnot. But I think that it just did such a good job of like of captivating that emotion. And then of course we had the exploration pitch that's on screen now. I think it got a lot of traction on Reddit. It took a very different approach, and yeah, I think that this is the one that players like keep screaming about now. But there's been some notable other ones. There was the Bard pitch from Gentle Tractor that came out last year or so. I've seen lots of call for like anything like summoning and dungeoneering seem to have people from like RuneScape who like take like rebrands of those and like want to run with those. You know, the idea of like having familiars, and then there's also like a whole group of them that are like enchanting, augmenting armor, like engineering, invention-y kind of style. Some of them are rebranded under other thematics. I think that's what I've generally seen from the community so far. There's a few other like random ones that stick out. I mean, there was an inscription one last week, I think, was it not? That kind of came out a while ago. So I think that communities had so many ideas coming forward, and I think that it'll be interesting to sort of break these down in community consultation, surveys and stuff, and kind of find out what players really like, you know, which ones are going to come out ahead. You know, I think that
Absolutely.
None of them are perfect, but like I wouldn't expect like anything to be perfect. Even anything that we put out wouldn't be perfect. I think the best part of a skill is like, to me, I think a skill isn't like, here's a document that describes the whole skill, go for it. I think a skill has to be built by the community, for the community, piece by piece, through series of polls, through all that kind of shenanigans. So, yeah.
I think you touched on a great point. I think you touched on a great point that it's all about what the community is telling us they want. So when they put forward this pitch, what is the actual desire, motivation behind that pitch? What's the good parts of that pitch that we can use then to influence our designs? And we really do want to avoid the sort of the different camps of pitches. So you have like different groups of players that support one pitch over like potentially other pitches, maybe shutting down new ideas or different ways of thinking about a new skill. We really want to take that feedback and look at, why do players want exploration? Why do players want ranching, for example, and transform that into an idea that most of the community can get behind. So hopefully we can deliver on that and figure out what it is behind those pitches that really makes people excited. Elena and Kieren, did you want to add anything to that?
Just the importance of like thematics, I guess, because I think that's something that a lot of these pitches have done really well. It's like the way they kind of explain the thematic and how that ties into the world. And to a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't care, I just want to level up and be done with it and get my rewards and like go do something else. Which is okay, maybe that's what you enjoy, but hear me out. Fishing and woodcutting are the same thing. You're doing the exact same thing, but it just has different thematics. And I'm looking at like the core loop of it, not like, you know, woodcutting versus Temporos or anything like that. But just the pure basic of clicking the resource, waiting as you get the resource in your inventory, and then watching it despawn so you click another one. Like, they're the same thing. And so we can, that basically just shows that thematics matter so much more as to the identity of a skill, more than the actual like gameplay does, for the core loop at least. And of course you can like add a bunch of other extra things to make the skill like feel exciting and to give you variety in how you train it. But I think that's like the thing that I'm most curious about, how players feel. Like, take the engineering pitch for example. Yes, it's all about like augmenting armor and stuff, but how would you feel about it if we had a magical twist to it instead? You know, because we could do that. We could take that skill and we could say, instead of using the materials you find and breaking down things and crafting those components back together and putting them on your armor, you're actually extracting magic from something and combining that and putting it on your armor, and suddenly you have like an enchantment skill instead of engineering. And the result is the same. You're getting, you know, augmented armor, but the whole question is, how would you like it done? And so, yeah, that's what it keeps coming back to for me. I'm sure that we could make some pretty cool gameplay, like, regardless of what the skill is. But the thematics, I'm super curious about.
Absolutely. We do have a question in the survey about thematics, but I'm sure that's something that we'll touch on after the skill pitch stage, during the skill pitch stage. That is a really key component in what excites players. You know, the idea of sailing on boats is super exciting, and then if you take a look at that and then go deeper, there's so many different ways of achieving that. But the same goes the other way. Like, you can have so many different ways of playing the game and then add different thematics, and it comes out with a completely different skill. So I'm just super excited to see what the community say. Kieren, do you have any final thoughts on the community pitches?
Just keep them coming. It's amazing to see the creativity. Like, and that's exactly why we're doing this process, right? Like, there's so many players with so many good things to say. It's amazing to see the reaction to each one. For us, I think it's a lot of really trying to understand, like, what about this pitch do they like? There's certainly elements, I think, in all of them that people dislike. There's elements that people love. And I think that where we're at is, like, we don't want to get lost in detail too much right now, because it is primarily about that core concept, that core idea, that theme, more so than, hey, this gives you a reward that lets you note items, right? Whatever it is. So, rewards, all that sort of stuff is like so far down the line, I think, in my head.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to add to the whole idea of like concepting skills and stuff is, like, the community are split on this as well, which is why we're putting surveys out, right? And trying to get a feel for it. But there's a camp of people who go, hey, like, you want to do all these big fantastical things, but that's not what skilling is in Old School RuneScape. Skilling in Old School RuneScape is you chop a log and get XP, and that's like the loop, right? You know, and then there's a group of people who go, oh my god, like, look, like what archaeology did, and it had this whole story alongside it, and it was bigger, and it was its own like piece of content, like, and all this stuff, and it's like people are really excited about that. And there's like a whole dynamic of which route do we go? Do we go with, here's your basic training loop, here's some like rewards and stuff you go, and that's a skill and package it off, or do we make it bigger and add other stuff to it? How does that fit in with other skills? We're not entirely, maybe there's a balance between them. I think as well, like thematics, but like cementing it in the world is really important as well. As people keep saying, this is not like high fantasy, this is medieval fantasy, so like having essentially what is like a cyberpunk skill might like this magical engineering stuff might not necessarily fit. Like if it was like in the sort of cyberpunk space, but maybe it toned down to like engineering works, or like enchanting might kind of work, or like that sort of route. I also think that there's a lot of people that get hyper focused on rewards when it comes to new skills, and I think rewards are really important, right? They're the reason you train the skill and get there. But to me, rewards are very much a later stage thing, right? Like, I remember when I looked at the inscription thing, it was like, cool, you can note things from a distance, and I'm like, and that is like something that someone could fixate on as the first thing in a point of a skill and go, that sounds OP, I'm voting no to the skill, right? We give no rewards and people can't get excited, so it's kind of like, it's kind of a backing. I think that selling people on the vision of what the skill is, why it fits in the world, give like, here are a bunch of possibilities it can come with, but if you like the idea of the skill, we can poll and vote on them way later, right? Once it's past the greenlit stage. So then like specific parts can fail if it's not liked compared to, and we can see what people like and that kind of thing. I think as well, like my biggest question for exploration is like people go, oh my god, I love exploration sailing because I want to fight bosses on islands. And I'm like, we could just release a bunch of bosses on islands. Does that make it a skill? Maybe it does. Maybe there's value in locking it behind having an exploration level and having a core gameplay loop that isn't that and eventually getting there, and that's exciting, right? Maybe that does make a skill. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know, right? These are questions that we need to put to the community and find out what they think, right? Before we move forward. But yeah.
You absolutely hit the nail on the head there when you basically said it's about the vision. So the skill pitch is going to be about the dream. What do you dream of in Old School RuneScape? What do you want? And then from there on, we'll refine it. We'll talk about rewards, like Kieren said. We'll think about those nitty-gritty details. And for now, we're going to take all of that feedback from the survey. We're going to analyze it, and we're going to figure out what is the dream that we want to sell you. We're going to give you 3 options, 3 different pitches, perhaps more. We'll see. But essentially, that data we'll use then to inspire our pitches. And if the worst happens and everybody hates it, we can always go back to the drawing board and come up with more pitches. So it really is an exciting time. We hope to have you all on board. I know there's going to be some skepticism, but make sure that you tune in for the skill pitches. Make sure that you leave your feedback on the survey, because that is going to heavily inform dev when it comes to creating designs and things like that. So have your say. Right, next question. Unless anyone wants to add anything on that topic. What is the survey all about? I will quickly answer that. Essentially, the survey is there to guide us on what type of skill you most value and desire, so that the devs can go away, create their pitches, and come up with some really cool designs. So in the survey, we touch on things like thematics. We talk a little bit about rewards, just to know what kind of headspace you're in when it comes to a new skill. We talk a little bit about how we should handle the max cape, ask you some questions, as well as high scores. I really want to stress, though, that all of the questions asked during this period are just to gather information. They're advisory. They're not binding at this stage, because nothing is really locked in until we look into later stages of the new skill. So nothing is finalized until we reach the point of refinement and locking in the skill. And even from there, we will still be looking at, potentially a beta and things like that following your feedback. So all this is really just asking you how you feel about certain topics relating to a new skill. We may even have another survey if we need to, if we feel we need to ask you more questions or get different feedback in a different way. But make sure that you fill out that survey. I don't know if Elena, Husky, Kieren, you want to add anything about the survey? When you went over it, what kind of inspired you with some of the questions that you suggested for the survey? What's your main motivation from your end with the survey?
Just to be able to make an informed decision, really. Or not even decision, but like be able to make pitches that we think you guys will like. Because ultimately, that's why we're doing this, right? We're doing it for the people, for the players. It's not like we're going to go make it just, so we can have fun. It's for you guys. So the best way that we can make something that you guys like is for you guys to tell us what you want. One other thing I thought of as well when making the survey was or helping make the survey. It's been an absolute group effort with Mudlight kind of spearheading it, so awesome job, Mudlight. But in terms of something that I thought was super interesting to ask about was also what do you as a player want from the skill? And I kind of touched on it a bit earlier, but some people just want the experience of accessing new content and exploring new systems and just kind of being that trailblazer, finding new things, which is awesome. And I think that's kind of like my motivation. That's what I find exciting in skills and in games in general. But other players want to make money from a new skill, for example, or they want more powers. They want like the new best slot weapons so they can fight bosses more efficiently and all that kind of stuff, or new tools to make crafting better, or like any skills better. So there's tons of different like motivations for you to actually want to do something. So what I'm curious about is what matters to you. So put that in the survey and be honest, like what matters to you, not what matters to your friends, what matters to your clan. No, what matters to you specifically.
Great feedback.
Yeah, I think we could get a lot of people that say, I want a skill that makes me like 50 mil XP, and while also sinking every item that of value in the economy to make all my drops better. I want to get 99 in like 2 days with it, doing like 2-hour days, and you know, like it's fine. Like we're never gonna like be able to agree on like, hey, like here's everything, but like let's give us like a framework of like general like sense checks on where people are, right? Like what people do like, because even just reading this Twitch chat and like reading Reddit, and trust me, I've spent like hours reading Reddit comments on skill pitches or like, you know, tweets that I've put out regarding it. Everybody has an opinion, and it's like some people generally agree, but they've got unique like distinctions, and it is just about being able to go, hey, like here's what you guys said, here's the sort of vote and the general consensus that you guys had, here's like some skill pitches that align with that, maybe we've got a curveball in there, and I think that ultimately like what Elena and I are looking to do is like, we do still want to be able to do something that we believe we can do well, right? Like we want this to be like top tier content that we are like super passionate about in delivering, and I think that it's just like, I'm already getting ideas right now from like things I've seen from community since the announcement, and like we want to look at the stuff in the survey, maybe get some new ideas, maybe come down. Like, I just want it to be like the best ideas that the community has come up with, and to just come up with just this banger piece of content that just goes down in history as like the first skill that the community's ever done. And I stand by what I said before. The survey is the first step to building a skill like for the community, from the community. Right, like we are just the vessel to take all those ideas that you guys have and to make awesome content. Like we're like a machine. You guys are like awesome ideas. There's a little bit of filtering where we maybe take out some not good ideas, because let's face it, there will be some in there. And you put all these good ideas in. We're the content generator machines, and at the end, you guys are all like, "Yay, we love the game," you know.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Kieren, did you want to add anything for the survey?
No, I think they've nailed it.
Awesome. All right, next question. How long is community consultation going to last? I can sort of start with that. So effectively, you are working with the best devs, basically. Like they started community consultation as soon as the poll finished. They basically looked at feedback. They were looking through Reddit threads, as Husky mentioned. They are on top of all of your feedback. But the official starting is now. So we have the survey now. We're collecting that data. We have the poll running. And essentially we're going to be throughout from now until basically late February, I would say, is where community consultation kind of happens. We ask you questions. We gather that data. That data will then be sent to the dev team, and then we'll come up with some skill pitches. So we hope to update you sometime in February about the skill pitches. But if we need to extend community consultation, then it may be a little bit longer. We might be using the Gazette, for example, for more regular updates on the new skill to keep you informed, as well as just our general social media channels. So if that's good with everyone, I could just move on to the next one. How will general contributors be chosen for Discord? According to what criteria? I should probably explain a little bit of the context. So we have set up a new Discord server called the New Skill Player Council Discord. That is a dedicated feedback server, similar to how the PvP feedback server is run, where only certain people who are invited to become general contributors will be allowed to type within that server. We're using the survey to invite or select applicants, so you can send your details through the survey if you're interested. and then we will invite those who are successful to form part of that focus group within Discord. We hope to hold sort of events with those participating, but the Discord is open to everyone to see. So anyone can join and see what's going on. It's just that you'll need to have a general contributor role to be able to type within that Discord. It's just too difficult to moderate potentially thousands of players all speaking at once. So hopefully we can get a wide range of players from all types of backgrounds, pretty much, from all areas of the community. We want PvPers, we want PBMers, we want extremely dedicated players. We also want players who have a more casual outlook on the game, because you have to remember a new skill affects all types of players, not only those who are sort of at the top levels of play. We also really want to get opinions from people who voted no on the poll, so that we can ensure that we're still taking into account their feedback, because a lot of the time it will be highly valuable feedback from someone who's very dedicated to the game. So make sure you fill out the survey if you want to join, and then we will select those from the survey based on certain criteria in the survey, as well as the links. We'll give you a chance to send us any links or any supporting evidence to show us, why you would be a good fit for it. You don't have to do that; it's entirely optional, but it sort of improves your chances if you can send us, some good reasons why we should be inviting you as an applicant. As well as that, we will have sort of a very, very small group of people that will be able to engage directly with Elena and Husky on their questions. Those people will be part of a more private group of that Discord. We explain that in the blog. But essentially, devs sometimes just need to ask questions when they're in the middle of designing, creating stuff. And we want to ensure that they have a space to do that in a more official way. So that's kind of how we're handling that. Do you guys want to add anything to that, the Discord, or are we happy to move on?
Let's move on.
No, I just think it's good, and I think that it is there to cast as wide a net as possible. I see there's just a few people on Twitch being like, "Oh, don't look at Reddit." Like, I know, like, it's not only Reddit. Like, the survey is accessible by poll. Anyone in game can click the poll booth, right? Anyone can get into the survey, and anyone could get into the Discord because of that, right? We want to cast as wide a net and hit every corner of the community as possible, because a new skill affects everyone. Everyone escape a new skill, and I think that's the both terrifying and exciting part of it, right?
Absolutely. I can cover the next question really quickly. If you don't use Discord, you can still give feedback to us. So we still handle feedback the exact same. We look at Reddit, we look at Twitter, we even look at YouTube comments, Facebook. So if you want to leave your feedback, but you don't want to make a Discord account, you don't need to make a Discord account to take part in the survey. You can still vote in the in-game poll, and you can leave your feedback on any other social media. We will be watching, promise. Okay, so this question has popped up a little bit. I've seen it actually in chat today. So I understand working on a new skill is important, but what about existing skills that need reworking or more content? Kieren, would you be able to take this question? Well,
we're doing both. It's kind of the short answer, really. Obviously, we've talked about the way of the forester at the summit, so we're going to be doing stuff for woodcutting, which, as Elena was very nicely explaining earlier, is basically just the same as fishing, and you could really perhaps do it with more depth. So that's one thing. Obviously, we've done a bunch last year. We've done the Guardians of the Rift update that Elena and Husky worked on, which is Giant's Foundry, and we'll have more later this year, inevitably. We're looking for new skilling projects, and generally we're trying to identify this skill scored pretty highly in the annual survey, and we're looking at, similarly to this skill, we're looking at player feedback, what skills need attention. Guardians of the Rift is the perfect example. Runecrafting was top of the list for most, players want runecrafting to be made better. We made that update, and as of the most recent survey we've done, gosh, did runecrafting score a lot better. It's nowhere near the most requested to be worked on now. That update has single-handedly changed the community's perception of runecrafting. It's made it more bearable. It's made it enjoyable, even. So we're trying to do that for more skills, and trying to improve that journey all the way from 1 up to the later stages of the skills. Obviously, there's a lot to do, but in reality, every skill's never finished. There's always chances to improve, and 5 years from now, we'll probably be talking about how runecrafting is desperate for another update, right? Like it never ends. There's always going to be desires for things to move forward. So in the meantime, why can't we do a new skill at the same time? We'd never add new content if all we ever wanted to do is just fix up and improve existing stuff. That's the long answer.
I think as well, and like this is at like it's kind of philosophical level, like where the game is and sort of as the game exists. Obviously, there are skills that are in better places than others, right? I think mining and smithing is the one that keeps coming up in chat. Like, yeah, maybe there's something we can do there. I know we released Giants Foundry recently, but maybe there's more. I know, like, the whole 99 to get a rune plate body meme exists, right? Maybe there's something we can do there in the future. But in terms of, like, skilling as a whole, if you average them all out, I think they're in a pretty good place. And some of them are getting, not bloated, but, like, they could do over the course of the next, like, several years. We release more mini games and stuff. And eventually, as, like, the community sort of reaches, like, I'm going to say to the point where their skill is finished, and that doesn't mean 99. That means, as a player, I'm not interested in training the skill anymore, right? Because either the XP is, it's too long to get there, it could be a high elite achievement diary. There becomes a point where, like, do we just keep adding and adding and adding from 1 to 99 a bunch of new skills in the same skills, and eventually, like, it's like, cool, you've got your choice of, like, 3 mini games from this skill, like, that kind of, like, supplement the core thing. Does adding a 4th add a lot of value? Does adding we're not there, but we could get there. And then it kind of becomes the question of, like, where do you go for just new skill, like, skilling content territory, right? Like, because one way that, like, RuneScape did it is they said, we're going to do 120s in skills, and hey, like, you liked fishing, well, great, now you can do even more fishing from 99 to 120. They've also added new skills, and I think that when I look at those two options of expanding, say, vertically and going, hey, like, let's stack on top, let's go beyond 99, or like, hey, let's add another skill, to me, adding another skill feels like the most old school sort of, like, solution to that. I think, like, don't shoot me, I'd kind of like both. I think it's a shame that, like, I just love fishing, but there's no reason to do it aside from number go up, and there's no, like, I just enjoy, fishing is just so much fun to me, just on the side, just chill, like, get it, training and stuff. But, like, it's kind of sad that unless I make a new account, I'm done with fishing, right? But I think ultimately, like, new skills are just so much more excitement to, like, everybody. I mean, I still have this old nostalgic feeling of farming released, and we were caravanning, like, in France with the family, and I'm like, but the farming skill release, and I literally logged on, raked, planted my potato seeds, and I was, like, so hyped. Like, my mom had spent like £4 an hour or £8 an hour at this cafe for me to, like, get on internet, and I was logging on as a kid and, like, planted my potato seeds. I was like, yes. And now what? But, like, it was still exciting because it was a new skill. I don't know, like, just the whole, like, horizontal versus vertical skill progression, I think the correct decision is to look into adding new skills instead of, like, making you go above 99 in the skills and having, like, unlocks there. But I don't know, that's just where I see the current state of the game. And as Kieren said, we're never done with a skill. There's always more to think about and do. No skills finished ever.
Yeah, absolutely. There was an interesting... Sorry. Elena, you go ahead. Sorry about that. I think it's my delay.
Just to add on to, like, what Husky said is no skill is truly ever finished, and that's true, and that's something to keep in mind for when we do start production on this new skill as well. Like, when we actually start making it and designing it and stuff, like, what future expansions do we want from it? Like, we could launch with say, like, a minigame and a skilling guild and still release, like, a skilling boss related to that, like, 1 year later, so we could have a plan, like, beyond release. We could have a plan for the next, like, 3 years as well, what we do with that skill. And that's super exciting to me as well, is that, like, we're not just designing for the time we have allocated right now, but we're also creating space for what we could potentially do with it in the future.
Great response. Yeah, I did see a bit of discussion on that. Is like, there's two camps. Some people think a skill needs to release perfectly with all the content ready from launch, everything, mini games, everything included. Other people feel that, skills could be iterated on throughout months, perhaps years. So it'd be interesting to find out, like, more from the survey about what players think about how the new skills should be released. how much content we can give basically through a new skill. And that'll be fun when it comes to planning, because oh boy, production's gonna have a really fun time with that. We'll know more once we've got to the sort of pitch refinement stage. Great. So next question is about how we determine questions for the survey. I'll speak on that a little bit, but would love if the devs could kind of input on that. Since my brain is kind of fried, a lot of the survey work that I was doing was just making sure that everybody's feedback was incorporated into the survey. But what I really wanted to achieve with the survey was that we got a good idea. First of all, we start with questions about you as a player. You know, what's your total combat level? What kinds of activities do you enjoy? Things of that nature. When did you start playing? And that's going to be really useful when it comes to analyzing the results, because then we can start to look at what types of players voted in what way, and compare that to other types of players, and we can see sort of different cohorts, different groups, and start to make sort of best judgments about what those groups of players actually want. So a lot of the work within the survey that I did was just making sure that it functions correctly. There might be a couple of like issues. I saw that one of the boxes was incorrect, so hopefully that's been fixed while we were live. But essentially, I wanted to give lots of opportunities for players to voice their feedback on different elements of the skill. I took inspiration from the 4 design pillars that we talked about in the first blog. So we have 4 different design pillars about what we actually want to achieve with the new skill. And a lot of those questions are basically expanding on that and asking players what they think about those design pillars, what they think about different questions relating to those, as well as just touching on other things like thematics and things like that. Curious to hear Elena and Husky just basically about what you thought were what you thought about the survey and the questions, and how you decided which questions that you wanted to send over to me when it came to creating the survey.
I guess it just comes back, like the main things for me is just generally what thematics do you like, what excites you, and what motivates you, like what do you enjoy doing in the game. Those are the 2 main things for me. The rest is obviously like still relevant, and we try to focus more on like type of skills, like you enjoy gathering, production, combat, like where are we going with this. But yeah, those are the 2 like big ones for me personally. How about you, Husky?
Yeah, I completely agree. Just coming out like ballpark, even just some of the high level questions, like we've spoken about before, that we want to make sure that at the top level we've gone correct. We don't want to go, hey, here's wording, here's a 40-page document, and it's like kind of magical crafting, runecrafty kind of, and like, whoa, that's so much information. From like, cool, they really want okay, they don't want combat gathering or production, they wanted like a utility skill. Right, okay, let's make sure in our pitches we have things that fit utility skill. Oh, they really want combat, or maybe it's like a combat gathering split. Cool, we'll have like a good combat skill pitch, a good gathering skill pitch, and like maybe we'll throw a wild card in because none of the others were like strong. It's just making sure that we're aligning with sort of the community want, and being that's important. I think I can't remember what questions we selected, and my memory is terrible, but like in some of the things I think we ask about, like, how do you feel about some of the suggestions from the community? Because I mean, let's face it, like we're probably going to have some form of community suggestions moving forward that we are either changing or tweaking or like agreeing with, you know, that kind of thing, because well, we want a skill that the community like, so here's a good one the community likes and that they like it, so let's break it down, see the bits that we like, think we're good, the things that we think we're bad, like sort of talk about it and pitch it high level. I think like that's what the survey is for me, is making sure that we are going in a direction they like, so that when it comes eventually to this lock-in poll, you know, we've got 3 options, they select down to 1, we refine that more. Now we're at a nice polished skill. Players have told us, cool, we like this part of your pitch, don't go in that direction, go in this direction, blah blah. All this kind of stuff is going to really put us in a good place. So a lot of the questions on the survey were sort of us asking, how do we get there?
All right, next question, because I know that we only have 5 minutes-ish. So the difference between the Community Consultation Poll and Survey, I can quickly answer that. Essentially, we're running 2 polls/surveys. Well, sorry, 1 of each, which is 2. Maths, quick maths. The main difference between the 2 is that a survey essentially does more than our poll system can at the moment. So we can basically use the poll to link players to the survey. Surveys have really cool tools. They have matrix tables. You can free type in text, as well as sending us things like, different links to perhaps a pitch of your own. So that's the reason why we chose to go with both. We're likely going to be doing that throughout the whole process, basically, because surveys offer a lot of great opportunities for player feedback, and that's the main reason for it. What is some advice that you would give to players when they give their feedback? I would love to go to Elena for this one. You did touch on it earlier about talking about player motivations. I'd just really love you to explain a bit more about that, just so that players are aware what makes feedback super valuable for you as a dev.
I guess there's like several parts to it. I think one is like be concise, because we have a lot of feedback from a lot of people to get through. So the more like concise you can keep it, the better. Feel free to like include detail, but maybe later on like have an elevator pitch that is, like the core of what you're trying to say. And then if you want to expand beyond that, you can, and we can go look at that if we have the time. But yeah, being concise is definitely key. And I think kind of what I talked about earlier, like give honest feedback that matters to you on a personal level. Like, we care about your opinion, not just what you think you should feel because the streamer you likes this one thing. It's so important that we try to get each of your voices, and yeah, just try to be as honest and open about that as possible, and don't be afraid to like feel selfish about saying, oh, I want money from the new skill. Like, that's perfectly fine. If that's your motivation, if that's what you want to do, then that's how you enjoy the game, and you play how you want to, so that's completely okay as well.
Awesome stuff. Husky, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to like your opinions as well, like there's like, as Lane said, like give us your opinion. There's nothing right or wrong. I had something I wanted to add, and I'm like kind of blanking on it at the moment. It was like, I think as far as it goes, just tell us why you want something and not what you want. That sounds really obvious, but like people don't. They go, oh my god, sailing's awesome, do sailing. All that does to me is like give like a rough, okay, tick. There was one more person mentally in my head that said they wanted sailing, and okay, now I saw a couple other comments that said they wanted summoning rework. Cool, now I've like got a rough general idea in my head. Obviously the poll will give us more specific results, right? But sailing, something like, I want sailing because I hope there's like 5 bosses and 5 collection logs I can complete on the like in the islands and get unique items. These unique items affect combat or PvP or help me do something and get cool. I now know why you want sailing, right? And even if like sailing isn't the pitch, now I have an understanding of the player motivation about what they want for a new skill, right? And someone else could go, I want sailing because I really hope that there's like new ores to mine or logs to cut, and like I'm really high fletching and I'm really hoping I can make money from like the new bow I can make from these new logs and stuff, and that would be great, right? Like that's cool. Motivation. Now I'm following you, not just ticking the box. Cool, that person wanted sailing, right? Or ticking the box, that person wanted like us to bring back invention or something. I mean, like the obvious one is like, I want to bring back invention because I think Old School needs like a wide general purpose item sync. Could be a good reason, and that's like, cool, now I know why they want invention. But other people could go, I really want invention because I like the idea of making cool little tinkering things to my like weird items I could use, or improvements to my armor or something, right?
Absolutely.
So like the reason why matters.
Absolutely. I can definitely attest to that for sure. And knowing that reason, it helps us to understand you as a player as well, so that we can understand the impact of what you're requesting or what you're suggesting. So I would love to finish off with this last question, because I know that Husky has to leave very shortly. So sorry if you have to go right away. I just want to ask, we will present 3 skill pitches or roundabout there at the end of community consultation, but what is going to influence what you decide to get to those 3? So you have a bunch of community suggestions, you have the data. What are the key things that is going to decide on those 3 or potentially pitches? Husky, if you can go first, and then we'll wrap up with Elena and Kieren.
First of all, like, does it generally like the pillars that we? And by that I mean strongly the one: is this a good, healthy addition to the game? If that's a no, like, if the community wants, it's just going to be bad for the game. Maybe there's like another discussion we need to have with the community there. Maybe it's not like a straight up no, but like, cool, here's what we did, but make it healthy for the game. But that needs to be number one. Second of all is like, just generally like going with something the community wants. Obviously, if the community don't want it, we're not going to pitch it, right? And then third is like, it's kind of the, I guess it's kind of that weird like one, but do I think we can do a good job of it in old school RuneScape? Like, one of the things that players might go, oh my, this is complicated. This just going to be janky in engine. Are we actually going to be able to deliver on that this player wants in a way that's satisfying of them to call it? Because at the end, like, maybe not. So that's kind of the three things I'm looking for. Like, players want it. It's a good addition. I think they would be able to pull it off at a high quality and a high standard.
Fantastic answer, Husky. I'm really sorry. I think your internet cut out a little bit, but I got the main points from it. And yeah, I absolutely agree. The design pillars are really important, as well as the community. So yeah, we were starved from a full mod Husky ramble, but but yeah, I think we got the main message. Elena, how about you? What is going to influence your decision on the skill pitches?
I think Husky was spot on with everything he said, really. I think the only additional thing I'd probably add is like, the team needs to feel comfortable doing it as well, not just like us specifically, like Husky and me working on it, but we're obviously sharing everything we're doing with the wider Old School team as well. And that's something that we want them to be okay with as well before we proceed and tell all the players about it, you know. That's really important to us, that we're kind of aligned and united on what we're sharing with everyone. So I think that's a very important milestone, I guess, in that like selection process. And kind of like Husky said as well, it really does have to fit into the game, both in terms of like the skill pillars, thematics, everything like that. Players need to like it, but it also must be like possible for us to do. We couldn't make, you know, like Quake, but in old school. Like, that just wouldn't work, you know? So it has to be something feasible as well.
Great answer, Elena. And Kieren, can we just finish off with your sort of...
I think Husky nailed it when he said, like, we've got to believe we can make it something awesome. Like, the quality level we want to hit with this is top tier, right? Certainly, it's our first ever skill. We want to blow you away. We want it to be impressive. We want it to feel like a really awesome addition to the game. So, like, if we've got an idea and, you know, even if it's popular, like, we're trying to really make it work, if we can't figure out a way to make it work, it probably isn't the one. We need to be able to see it as part of Old School and believe we can make something awesome with it. And I think it's a really strong point. Otherwise, we're going to struggle to sell it and explain it and all these other things.
Absolutely great
Hopefully
response.
my internet lets me make this point, but I tweeted, and it was one of my favorite tweets with the skill discussion before Christmas, and somebody was going, I saw a bunch of people, I want a new skill, but I don't want it to be shit. Like, I don't want it to be a terrible skill. Like, and I'm like, I don't want it to be a terrible skill either, lol. I want it to be the best content it could be. I want like people to just go down and be like, damn, that was the best piece of content that like Husky and team have ever released, right? Like, I'm not settling for anything less than that, right?
Absolute perfectionist. I love it. All right. Well, that about wraps up the discussion. Unless anyone wants to add anything, speak now or hold your peace. I'm sure we'll have a lot more live streams to come as we progress in the new skill. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will quickly go through some announcements before we wrap up. So it's !poll for the poll running. It's poll 78, as well as the new skill. !new skill will take you to the latest blog on Community Consultation. Gives you all the information that you need to know about the new Discord, the survey, the poll running. !survey, for those who just want to take the survey, you can just take it via that link. !video, if you can't be bothered to read the blog, we don't blame you. Monaiza, listen to the sweet sounds of him talking about community consultation for about 4 minutes. And then ! new skill Discord. Basically, it's a new Discord that you can join. It's read-only at the moment. You can apply to be part of the New Skill Player Council. Right, I think I have another ! which is ! Diango. If you want something you can get your hands on now, visit Drainer's Friendly Horseman and redeem the code in the command for a nice surprise. I think this is maybe from our merch team, so enjoy. All right, thank you so much to Kieren, Husky, and Elena for joining me today. Thank you to Mod Spirit in the background. Thank you to everyone modding in chat. Really appreciate it. And thank you to chat for being so wonderful today. We really appreciate your time. If you decide to take the survey, it will prove invaluable to us to hear your feedback. So thank you so much. I think we've got, the last time I checked, we had about 4,000 responses, which is incredible.
Fill it in. Get your friends to fill it in. You care about this game. You've played it for years. Even your friends who aren't currently playing, they're going to play in the future. No one quits. They want to stay on the skill. Link it to them. Tell them about it.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Kieren. All right. Goodbye from the team here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.